The man in the elevator. The elevator doors opened slowly on the 10th floor. Keanu Reeves had just finished a quiet meeting with a young film director, whose eyes were full of dreams, but whose voice trembled with doubt. It was a small office building in downtown Los Angeles. Nothing fancy, nothing flashy. It was the kind of place where dreams either began or quietly ended. Keanu wasn't supposed to be there. His agent had canceled the meeting hours ago, but something in his gut told him to go anyway. So he showed up, in his usual humble way. No assistant, no entourage, just himself. A worn-out brown jacket and a kind smile. He pressed the button for the ground floor and leaned back against the cold metallic wall of the elevator. The soft hum of the cables overhead, the faint buzz of fluorescent lights, and the distant echo of voices from nearby offices made the moment feel ordinary. But what happened next would change his life forever. Just before the doors closed, a man rushed in, his breathing heavy, his steps uneven. He wore a tailored gray suit and carried a black leather briefcase. His hands trembled slightly as he hit the lobby button. His face looked pale, like someone who hadn't slept in days. He gave Keanu a quick nod and leaned against the opposite wall, gripping the handrail tightly. Keanu watched him quietly. Something about the man's energy felt off. There was pain in his eyes. Not physical pain, but the kind of pain that grows silently inside a storm with no thunder. Just the constant pressure of expectations, deadlines, and the invisible weight of success. Long day, Keanu asked gently. The man tried to smile, but failed. You could say that. He whispered. Then, without warning, the man's knees gave out. His briefcase fell to the floor with a loud thud. He clutched his chest, gasping. Panic rushed across his face. He tried to speak, but no words came out. His body slumped sideways. He was collapsing right in front of Keanu. Without thinking, Keanu dropped to his knees. His hands moved instinctively, one behind the man's head, the other on his wrist, checking for a pulse. His heartbeat was faint, erratic. "Hey, stay with me," Keanu said, his voice calm but firm. "You're not alone, okay? I'm right here." He hit the emergency button. A red light flickered, but no one responded right away. The elevator was stuck between floors now. Minutes felt like hours. The air felt thinner. The man was losing consciousness fast. Keanu leaned in closer. "Listen to me. I don't know your name, but you're not going to die here. You hear me? Breathe. Just breathe." His mind flashed back to the time he lost his best friend River Phoenix, then to his sister's long hospital stays, the countless nights he sat beside her bed, watching her sleep, praying for one more morning. Keanu had seen pain. He had sat with grief. And now, in this tiny metal box, he was face to face with it again. He unbuttoned the man's collar and loosened his tie. He tilted his head gently to clear his airway. Then he grabbed the man's phone from the floor and unlocked it using Face ID. He found the emergency contact and called. "Hello? This is Keanu Reeves, the man whose phone this is just collapsed in the elevator. We're in the City Square building. He needs help. Please send someone now." On the other end, a voice trembled. "Oh my God, his name is Ethan. Ethan Caldwell. He's the CEO of our company. Is he okay?" Keanu looked down at Ethan, who was barely conscious now, his breathing shallow. "Just tell the paramedics to hurry," Keanu replied, gently brushing a strand of hair off Ethan's forehead. The voice on the phone tried to say something else, but Keanu had already dropped the phone and returned all his focus to Ethan. "Come on, man. Stay with me. I know what it feels like to carry the weight of the world. I know what it's like to feel like you can't take another step. But you're not done yet. Not today." Suddenly, Ethan's fingers twitched. His lips moved. Barely audible, he whispered, I didn't tell her." Keanu leaned in. "Tell who?" Ethan's eyes fluttered open for a second. "My daughter, her recital." A lump formed in Keanu's throat. "You'll tell her yourself. You're going to walk out of this elevator, Ethan. You'll watch her dance. You'll hold her afterward. You'll tell her you're proud." The elevator suddenly jerked and started moving again. Keanu stayed close, supporting Ethan's head. Within seconds, the doors opened, and paramedics rushed in. One of them recognized Keanu instantly but didn't Say a word. They went straight to work, lifting Ethan onto a stretcher, checking his vitals, attaching monitors. As they wheeled him away, Keanu followed. A young woman ran into the lobby. Her eyes wide with panic, she was holding a backpack and ballet shoes. "Dad!" she cried. Keanu stepped aside gently, watching the little girl run to her father's side. Ethan, now with an oxygen mask over his face, reached out and touched her hand. Keanu stood silently. No cameras, no flashing lights, no interviews, just a quiet man witnessing a moment that mattered. A reporter would later ask him, "Why didn't you leave after the medics came?" Keanu's answer was simple, "Because sometimes staying is the most important thing you can do." But the story wasn't over. Not even close, because Ethan Caldwell wasn't just a CEO. He was a man hiding a truth that would soon come crashing into Keanu's world, a secret buried in boardrooms and blood tests, a connection deeper than chance, a history neither of them knew they shared. And as Keanu walked out of that building, the sun setting behind the skyscrapers, he had no idea that this single moment of kindness would open the door to a past he thought was long forgotten. The name on the envelope. Heath Hospital hallway was quiet except for the soft beeping of machines and the muffled sounds of nurses talking behind the glass. Keanu sat on a hard bench outside the ICU. His jacket was folded beside him, and his eyes stared at the floor, deep in thought. The little girl Ethan Caldwell's daughter had gone in to see her father. Keanu didn't know her name. He didn't know much at all, except that he had held a man's life in his hands. And now that man was fighting to stay alive. A nurse approached him softly. "You saved his life," she said with a gentle smile. "If you hadn't acted that fast, he might not have made it." Keanu nodded slowly. "He has a family. They deserve to have him back." She tilted her head. "You're not related to him, are you?" "No," Keanu said. "I just happened to be there." After the nurse walked away, Keanu stood up and went to the hospital cafeteria. He wasn't hungry, but he needed to move, needed to breathe. Something about this whole day felt strange, too heavy to just walk away from. As he stirred a cup of tea, a soft voice behind him spoke. "You're KeanuReeves, right?" He turned. It was the woman from the phone, the one who had called him Mr. Caldwell. She was wearing a navy blue blazer, and her eyes were red from crying. "Yes," Keanu said kindly. "And you must be from his office." "I'm Emily, executive assistant. I've worked with Ethan for 8 years. He's a tough boss, but he's a good man, always keeps his word, always puts his daughter first." Keanu nodded slowly. "What happened to him?" He looked like he hadn't slept in days. Emily glanced down. "He's been under a lot of pressure. The company is about to launch a major project. There have been rumors about boardroom betrayals, internal leaks. He hasn't talked to anyone about it. He just keeps carrying the weight." She paused, then looked back at Keanu. "You being there, that wasn't just luck. It was something more." Keanu gave a faint smile. Maybe we were both just in the right place at the right time." As they parted ways, Emily handed him a small envelope. "He asked me to give this to someone. Said if anything ever happened to him, it should go to the man who helped him." Keanu looked down at the envelope. There was no writing on it, just a strange feeling in his chest. He waited until he got back home to open it. His apartment was quiet, dimly lit, and filled with books, plants, and the calm scent of incense. He sat at his kitchen table, tore open the envelope, and pulled out a letter. His hands froze. The first line read, "To the man who may be the only one left to understand what I've been through." Keanu's eyes narrowed. The handwriting was neat, precise, emotional. "My name is Ethan Caldwell. I am the CEO of a company called Lion Tech Systems, but that's not who I truly am. Before I built this empire, I was someone else, someone one knew. I was adopted, raised in a small town. My birth name was different, and all I know is that my real father disappeared when I was still a baby. All I have of him is a picture of him standing next to a motorcycle with a woman who looks like my mother. The man looks exactly like you." Keanu froze. "I know this sounds insane. Maybe it is. But for years, I've had a quiet suspicion, I never told anyone, never searched too hard, until a few months ago. When my daughter asked me why we didn't have any family photos, it hit me then. I needed to know where I came from. I had a DNA test run using one of those ancestry kits, and last week, it confirmed a partial match. The man in the photo was your brother. Keanu's heart stopped. For a moment, his brother, but he never had a brother. Not that he knew of. He flipped the page. I don't want anything from you. Not your name. Not your fame. I wanted to meet the man who might be the only thread left that connects me to who I truly am. If I don't make it out of that elevator, please tell my daughter that I tried, that I didn't leave this world without trying to find the truth. And if somehow we are connected, please take care of her. She's all I have. Keanu sat back, stunned. He stared at the letter for a long time. Then he walked over to the bookshelf in the corner of the room and pulled out an old album. Inside was a photograph, one he hadn't looked at in years. It was a picture of his father, taken when Keanu was just a boy. His father had left the family when Keanu was still young. He had lived a wild, restless life, disappearing into the shadows. Keanu held up the photo and compared it with the one tucked into Ethan's letter. Same leather jacket, same watch, same tired eyes. A chill ran down his spine. Was it possible? Had his father lived another life? Had he fathered another child? He didn't sleep that night. The thoughts spun like a storm in his head. The next morning, Keanu returned to the hospital. Ethan was awake, but weak. Monitors beeped beside his bed. His daughter sat quietly in the chair, coloring in a notebook. When she saw Keanu, she smiled shyly. "You helped my daddy." Keanu smiled back. "Your dad is a brave man." Ethan opened his eyes and turned toward him. "You got the letter," he said, his voice hoarse. Keanu nodded. "I did." They stared at each other for a long moment. No words needed. Something unspoken passed between them, a bond neither of them had expected. Not built by blood, but by truth. By a history that had gone silent for decades and now whispered its way back into their lives. "I didn't know," Keanu finally said. "About my father. About you, neither did I," Ethan replied. "But maybe that's why we met." Keanu sat beside him. "You're not alone anymore," he said quietly. "Whatever happens next, we face it together." And somewhere down the hallway, a small girl smiled and drew a picture of her daddy standing next to a man with long hair and a gentle face. The world didn't know yet, but something powerful had just begun. Two men, once strangers, now tied together by fate, history, and a promise not to let go. The photo in the drawer. Sun filtered through the hospital window, casting soft golden lines across the white bedsheets. Ethan Caldwell lay quietly, recovering from the heart episode that nearly ended his life. Monitors still blinked beside him, but the wires were fewer now. His daughter was asleep in a nearby chair, her small hands still clutching the drawing of him and Keanu. KeanuReeves sat beside the bed again. He hadn't planned to return every day, but something inside him wouldn't let him stay away. He'd brought breakfast, magazines, and even a small stuffed dog for the little girl. But more than that, he brought something deeper. A quiet presence, a sense of peace. Ethan opened his eyes slowly and looked over. "You came back," he said, voice dry. Keanu gave a small nod. "You saved my life in a way, too," he said gently. "You reminded me that family can come from unexpected places." They talked for a long time, about childhood memories, about lost fathers, about what it means to grow up not knowing where you truly come from. Both had wounds they rarely shared with anyone. Now, in that room, those scars found light. Ethan finally said, "My adoptive parents were kind, but they never spoke of my birth family. It was like that part of me didn't exist." Keanu leaned forward. "My father left when I was young. I tried not to think about him for years. But now I wonder what else he left behind." There was a long pause. Then Ethan said something that changed everything. "There's something you need to see. It's in my office." Keanu looked confused. "What is it?" "It's a photo. One I've kept in a locked drawer for years. I never understood why I couldn't throw it away. Now I think maybe it was waiting for you." That afternoon, with Ethan's permission, Keanu went to Liontech headquarters. The office building felt different now, no longer a place of sharp business deals and cold handshakes, but the place where two lives had collided. Emily greeted him at the door. She had heard bits and pieces of the situation, but said nothing. Her eyes were kind. "His drawer is the third one," she said softly. "The key is taped under the desk." Keanu walked into the CEO's office. It was clean, organized, and modern, but there were small signs of humanity. A photo of Ethan's daughter, a mug with the words "Best Dad," and a guitar leaning against the wall. He sat behind the desk, found the key, and opened the drawer. Inside, there was a faded photo. He picked it up slowly. His breath caught in his throat. It was his father, younger but unmistakable, the same face, standing beside a woman Keanu had never seen before. She had gentle eyes and was holding a baby. On the back of the photo, there was a date written in pen, September 1982. Tucson. Keanu's hands trembled slightly. He sat back in the chair, staring at the photo like it was a window into a life he had never lived. He found a second item in the drawer, a folded document. A birth certificate. The mother's name was listed as Rachel Caldwell. Father, unknown, but written faintly in pencil beside the word unknown was a name. It had been erased, but part of it remained. Esri. Keanu sat in silence for a long time. When he returned to the hospital later that day, Ethan could see something had shifted. "You found it," Ethan said softly. "I did." Keanu nodded. "He was there. He knew about you. He left something behind." Ethan turned his head toward the window. "I used to have dreams about him. Not his face, just the feeling of him. A presence. I thought it was just a child's wish, but maybe it was more." Keanu looked at him. "I think our father was a broken man. He made mistakes. He left pain behind, but he also left pieces of himself in both of us." Ethan gave a faint smile. "Maybe we're what's left to make that pain mean something." Keanu nodded. "Maybe that's why I found you." The days passed slowly. Ethan's health improved. The doctors said he would make a full recovery if he managed his stress. His daughter, whose name was Lily, began to open up to Keanu. She would sit beside him, ask questions about acting, tell him about her dreams of becoming a dancer, and ask if he could teach her how to ride a motorcycle. One day. One afternoon, while Ethan was asleep, Lily whispered to Keanu, "You feel like family." Keanu's heart ached. He reached out and gently brushed her hair back. "Maybe I am," he whispered. Outside, the city moved on, unaware of the quiet miracle happening in that hospital room. But not everyone was blind to it. Deep inside Liontech, behind closed doors, a different conversation was happening. A man named Victor Rayner sat at his desk, staring at a report. He was head of legal affairs for Liontech and had worked under Ethan for years. But now he was watching the company slip out of his hands. "Who is this Keanu Reeves really?" Victor muttered, narrowing his eyes. "And what does he want?" He called someone on a secure line. "Dig into him, everything. Childhood, finances, any legal issues. If he's making a move, I want to know before he does." On the other end, a voice replied coldly, "What if he's not after the company, then? Find out what he is after," Victor snapped. Because Victor knew something that Ethan and Keanu didn't. There was a clause buried deep in the company's founding papers, a clause connected to bloodline inheritance. If it ever came to light, it could give partial ownership of Liontech to Keanu if proven to be the son of the original silent investor, Samuel Reeves. And Victor Rayner had spent years making sure no one ever found out. But now, with Ethan's life hanging in the balance and Keanu getting closer to the truth, the secrets were starting to crack open. What began as a moment of compassion in an elevator was about to turn into a battle for legacy, truth, and something far more personal: healing. Shadows in the boardroom. A quiet tension filled the air as Keanu Reeves stepped off the elevator into the boardroom level of Liontech. It was the same building where he had first found Ethan Caldwell, collapsing, and yet everything felt different. Now, it wasn't just about saving a stranger anymore. It was about uncovering the truth and protecting the man who might be his half-brother. Emily greeted him just outside the glass doors. "Ethan asked for a meeting," she said softly. "He wants to make something clear to the board before someone else does." Keanu nodded. He had no interest in companies or profits or power. But he'd seen that look in Ethan's eyes the night before, determined, tired, but full of purpose. This wasn't about business anymore. It was about legacy and protecting the people they both cared about. Inside the boardroom, 12 individuals sat around a long polished table. Some were loyal to Ethan. Others, like Victor Rayner, were not. Ethan, though still pale, stood at the head of the table with his daughter's drawing folded neatly in his pocket. Beside him was Keanu. Quiet but steady, Ethan began, his voice slow but clear. I called this meeting because something happened that changed my life. Some of you know that I collapsed last week. What most of you don't know is who saved me, or what I discovered after that day. Whispers moved around the room. Victor leaned forward slightly, his fingers steepled together. Go on, he said calmly. Ethan continued. This man beside me is Keanu Reeves. Some of you may know him as an actor, but to me, he's something else, a connection to the past I never knew. The man I've spent my life wondering about. My birth father was his father too. Gasps broke the silence. Someone dropped a pen. Someone else cleared their throat. Ethan looked around the room, calm and steady. I'm not here to start a scandal or make anyone uncomfortable, but I believe in truth, and I believe that hiding from it does more harm than good. Victor spoke up. With all due respect, this board meeting is not a family reunion. Liontech has obligations, shareholders, legal. I know what Liontech has, Ethan cut in. I've built it from the ground up, and I've done it without knowing where I came from. But now that I do, I will not let this company be used as a shield to cover up history. He turned to Keanu. Tell them what you found. Keanu stepped forward slowly. He placed the photo from the drawer on the table, along with the faded birth certificate. This is a photo of our father, he said quietly. Your founding documents list a silent investor, Samuel Reeves. That was our father's name. My father. A wave of unease moved through the room. Victor's single quotes S jaw tightened. Even if that's true, it has no legal bearing. Mr. Reeves has no shares, no position, and no stake. Keanu met his eyes calmly. I don't want your company, he said simply. I don't want a seat or a check or control. I came here because I believe Ethan has the right to be surrounded by people who respect honesty, and I won't let you manipulate him while he's vulnerable. Victor's face remained still, but his fingers clenched. Ethan raised his hand. I'm rewriting my succession plan. Effective immediately, Emily will become interim coup. She'll handle daily operations while I recover. Keanu will be listed as a personal advisor, with no executive power, but full access to company records relating to our early years. If there are secrets, we'll find them together. Victor slammed his fist lightly on the table. You're destroying everything we built. Ethan turned to him. Double quotes no, he said quietly. I'm protecting it from people like you. The room fell into stunned silence. Then, one by one, the board members stood up and nodded their agreement. Victor rose slowly from his chair. You've made a mistake, he said coldly. And when this all falls apart, don't say I didn't warn you. He walked out without another word. Keanu stood beside Ethan, steady and silent. The storm was just beginning, but now they would face it side by side. Outside, as the doors closed behind them, Emily turned to Keanu. He'll come after you, she warned. Victor's dangerous. He has connections, hidden documents, maybe even copies of contracts we've never seen. Keanu nodded. Let him try. But later that night, as Keanu walked back to his apartment, he noticed something unusual. His mailbox was open. Inside was a single white envelope, unmarked. He opened it slowly. Inside was a photo taken through a long lens. It was of Lily, Ethan's daughter, walking home from school. No note, no message. Just the silent threat. Keanu felt his jaw tighten. Someone was watching. Someone was warning him to walk away. He didn't go home that night. He went straight to the hospital. Ethan was awake, watching TV with Lily curled up beside him. Keanu gently handed him the photo. Ethan's face turned pale. He clutched the edge of the blanket. This is real, Keanu said. They're watching us. Ethan looked down at his daughter, then back up. We protect her, no matter what. Keanu nodded. We'll find out who's behind this, and when we do, We make sure they can never hurt her, or you, again, outside the hospital window. The night grew darker, and in the shadows, someone was already planning their next move. But they had underestimated one thing. Keanu wasn't just a man of kindness. He was a man who had lived through pain, loss, and silence, and now, he had something worth fighting for. The man with the silver-ringed morning air felt colder than usual. As Keanu Reeves walked along the edge of the parking lot behind Liontech headquarters, the photo of Lily, the one left in his mailbox, was still folded in his coat pocket, burning like a fire against his chest. Someone had crossed a line, not just a threat to Keanu, but to a child, to family. Ethan's daughter was now under extra protection. Keanu had arranged it quietly with the help of a retired security consultant he trusted. No loud announcements, no flashing lights, just silent guardians keeping watch from a distance. But the threat wasn't over. Keanu knew that if someone wanted to scare him, it meant they were hiding something worth protecting, and whoever had left that photo wanted him gone. The deeper he got into Ethan's story, the more he realized that Liontech's origins weren't clean. Somewhere in the early days, power had shifted, hands had changed, documents had been rewritten, and in the center of it all stood one name: Victor Rayner. Keanu sat in Ethan's office, flipping through boxes of old files Emily had pulled from archives. Some were dusty, others had been untouched for years. One box caught his attention. On the side, faded in ink, were the initials S.R. Samuel Reeves, his father. Inside were old ledgers, scanned copies of early investments, contracts typed on yellowed paper, and one photo. Keanu pulled it out slowly. It was a company event long before Liontech became a giant. Samuel Reeves stood beside a younger version of Victor Rayner. Victor's face was thinner then, his hair darker, but the expression was the same: sharp, guarded, unreadable. Keanu flipped the photo over. Written in pencil, 1988. Initial funding dinner, S.R. Signed with conditions. What conditions? Keanu looked closer. On Samuel's hand was a silver ring, worn on the middle finger, a thick band with a strange carving almost like a family crest. Keanu had seen that ring once in real life on his father's hand when he was just a child. It was the same ring his father refused to explain. The same ring he wore even when everything else in his life fell apart. He checked the ledgers again and found an entry. Silent shares held in trust. Beneficiary to be determined. By bloodline. His breath caught. There it was. Proof. If Samuel Reeves was his father and if Ethan was his brother, then both had a claim to the silent shares. A claim that could alter the power structure at Liontech. And someone had worked very hard to bury that truth. Keanu picked up his phone and called Ethan. We found it, he said. The clause. The trust. Your father, our father, made sure his children would inherit his shares, even if he wasn't there to raise them. Ethan was silent. On the other end. Then he whispered. He was trying to protect us, even from the shadows. But before they could act on it, the danger struck again. That same evening, Emily's car was broken into. Her laptop containing copies of the files was stolen. And when Keanu returned to his apartment, he found the front door slightly open. Nothing was taken. Except one thing. The photo of Ethan's daughter. Whoever was behind this wasn't just trying to stop them, they were watching every move, staying one step ahead. Keanu and Ethan met the next morning in a private hotel suite. Both looked tired, but their eyes were sharp. He's panicking, Ethan said. Whoever it is, they're rushing, making mistakes. Keanu nodded. And now it's our turn. Together, they built a plan. They would hold a press conference not to air secrets, but to speak truth. Not about family drama, but about corporate integrity. They wouldn't accuse anyone, not yet. They would simply tell the story of Liontech's forgotten beginnings and the silent investor who believed in the company more than anyone else. The announcement was scheduled for the following Monday, but someone was listening. Late that night, Keanu was walking back from the hotel lobby when he saw a man standing in the alley beside the building. He wore a black coat, his face hidden beneath a cap. But what caught Keanu's eye was the flash of silver on his hand. The ring. The same one from the photo. Keanu froze. The man turned and slowly walked toward him. stopping just a few feet away. "You shouldn't be here," the man said quietly. Keanu's single quotes S. voice was calm. "You knew my father?" The man nodded. "I was there when he signed everything." Samuel trusted the wrong people. "Who are you?" Keanu asked. "His lawyer." "I was young, eager. I helped write the original documents. Then they were changed behind my back, erased." Keanu's heart pounded. "Why are you telling me this now?" "Because the truth matters, and because I've been silent too long. I kept the original copies in a locker, just in case." Keanu stepped closer. "Can you give them to me?" The man paused. "I'll bring them tomorrow. Meet me at Griffith Park, noon. Come alone." Then he turned and disappeared into the shadows. Keanu returned to the hotel and told Ethan everything. "We need to be careful," Ethan said. "This could be a trap, or it could be the only chance we have." Keanu replied. Ethan nodded. "Slowly, then we take it." The next day, Keanu arrived at the park early. It was quiet. The wind rustled through the trees. Children played nearby. Joggers passed without noticing him. 12 o'clock came. Then 12:15. The man didn't show. Keanu waited an hour. Still nothing. He called Ethan, his voice tense. "He's not here." Then, as he was walking back toward his car, his phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. "You should have walked away." Attached was a photo. The man from the night before, lying unconscious. Blood on the pavement. The locker key gone. Keanu stared at the screen, heart pounding. Someone had gotten to him first. They were being watched, hunted. And now, the last piece of evidence was missing. Or so they thought. Because that night, as Ethan sat with his daughter helping her with homework, she pulled a book from his shelf, and a folded piece of paper fell out. She handed it to him, smiling. This was stuck inside. Ethan opened it. His face went pale. It was a copy of the original trust clause. His father had hidden it in a children's book long ago. A backup plan in case everything else failed. Ethan called Keanu immediately. "We have it," he whispered. "The real proof. It's been here all along." Keanu closed his eyes, relief and disbelief flooding through him. "Then it's time," he said. "We end this." The day the truth stood tall. It was Monday morning. Sky above Los Angeles was overcast, like the city itself was holding its breath. Keanu Reeves stood backstage at the LionTech press room. He wore a simple black shirt, sleeves rolled up. Next to him stood Ethan Caldwell, now stronger, clearer, and steadier than he had been in months. A thin bandage still peeked out beneath his collar, but his voice was ready. Behind them, on a table, sat the folded document they had recovered, a signed, time-stamped original of the trust clause from 1988. It was real, it was legal, and it changed everything. Lily sat off to the side with Emily, holding a small plush bear Keanu had given her. She didn't understand the full story. She just knew her dad looked better when Uncle Keanu was around. She called him that now, Uncle. Keanu. As the cameras flashed and reporters gathered, Ethan stepped onto the stage. "Good morning," he began calmly. "I know this isn't a typical press event, but today isn't about typical announcements. Today is about truth and the legacy that built LionTech." He paused, then looked toward Keanu, who joined him at the podium. "Many of you know this man, but you don't know what he means to this company, or to me." Keanu took a breath, looked at the crowd, and spoke in his soft, grounded voice. "I met Ethan by accident, or at least that's what I thought. I was just in the right place at the right time. Or maybe the time was always meant to come." The room fell silent. "I learned that the founder of this company, Samuel Reeves, was my father. I didn't grow up with him. I don't have childhood stories or birthday cards. I just have a few photos and a lot of silence." He looked toward Ethan. "But it turns out I wasn't the only one left behind." Ethan stepped forward again. "We found the original documents. Our father left instructions that his children would inherit his shares not for profit or control, but to ensure this company stayed in hands that cared about its purpose." He paused, letting the words settle. For years, parts of that truth were hidden, buried, altered, but no longer. He raised the original trust document for everyone to see. Cameras flashed wildly. "We are not here to take power," Ethan said clearly. We are here to protect it. Then, for the first time, he said the words aloud in front of the world. Keanu Reeves is my brother. Reporters gasped. Some whispered. Others simply stood still. Keanu gave a small smile. I didn't come here to be a CEO. I came here to help a man who collapsed in an elevator. And what I found was a family in the audience. Victor Rayner stood at the back, frozen. The board had already seen the documents the night before. Most of them had signed an emergency vote to remove Victor from his position, effective immediately. Emily, now officially Chief Operating Officer, handed Victor the termination letter with quiet dignity. You had your time, she said simply. Victor tried to protest, but no one listened. Not anymore. Truth had spoken. And truth didn't need to shout. As the press conference ended, reporters rushed toward the stage. But Keanu gently raised a hand. We'll answer your questions, he said softly. But not today. Today is about something more important. He turned to Lily, who was watching him from the side. It's about showing her what honesty looks like. Later that evening, Keanu and Ethan sat together on a bench overlooking the city skyline. A gentle breeze passed between them. Ethan handed Keanu the silver ring from their father. The same one from the old photo. He would have wanted you to have it, Ethan said quietly. Keanu turned the ring over in his hand. The carving felt cold, yet familiar. Maybe he wasn't ready to be a father, Keanu whispered. But maybe he tried, in his own broken way. They sat in silence. Then Ethan chuckled. You could have just walked away that day, when I collapsed. Most people would have. Keanu smiled. But I didn't. Ethan nodded. No, you didn't. A few weeks passed. The company stabilized under Emily's leadership. Keanu declined any official role, but visited often, especially to see Lily, who now called him family in every way that mattered. On her birthday, she had one request. Can Uncle Keanu come to school and tell a story? So he did. Not about Hollywood, not about fame, but about elevators, about heartbeats, about strangers becoming brothers, and about a silver ring that led to a truth deeper than any script. In the end, Liontech was not saved by money or strategy. It was saved by a moment of kindness. A moment in an elevator. And the man who chose to stay.